Two people are standing at the very same starting line. They are the same age. They have the same job. The same paycheck lands in the same bank account on the same Friday afternoon. They buy the same groceries. They drive the same tired car. They lie awake at night worrying about the same bills. If you placed their two lives side by side today, you would not be able to tell them apart. But 40 years from now, one of them is worth more than $1 million, and the other one is sitting on less than half of that. Neither of them ever earned more than the other. Neither one got lucky. Nobody ever handed either of them a single thing. The entire gap between them comes down to one quiet decision. A decision that one of them makes today, and the other one keeps promising to make later. By the end of this video, you are going to see the exact moment their two lives split apart. And you are going to understand why that gap grows so wide that it starts to feel unfair. Because here is the part that almost no one ever explains to you. These two people are not strangers. They are both you. Let's call the first one the one who starts, and the second one the one who waits. The one who starts is 25 years old. The one who waits is the very same person, just 10 years later, at 35. Same income, same spending, same discipline. We are going to hand them the exact same plan. $200 a month, quietly invested, nothing clever, no picking winning stocks, no trying to time the market, just $200 every single month, placed into the kind of broad, boring investment that has historically averaged somewhere around 10% a year over the long run. $200. That is less than what most people spend on takeout in a month. Less than a single night out on a weekend. It is small enough that you would barely feel it leave your account. The one who starts begins right now at 25. The one who waits looks at that same $200 and says the words that almost everyone says. I'll start when I earn more. I'll start when things settle down. I'll start next year when life is a little easier. And then next year quietly becomes the year after. And the year after slowly becomes a decade. That decade is the entire story. So let's watch it unfold, 10 years at a time. Fast forward 10 years, the one who started early is now 35. For 10 years straight, $200 has slipped out of their account every single month. They barely noticed it. Just a small line on a statement they almost never opened. By now, they have put in $24,000 of their own money, and that money has quietly grown to around $40,000. It is not life-changing. Not yet. If you showed them this number, they might even feel a little let down. 10 years of effort, and only $40,000 to show for it. Meanwhile, across town, the other one is only now turning 35. And today is the day they finally decide to begin. The same $200 a month. The same plan. The same everything. They are starting from zero. And this is the moment that is so quietly dangerous. Standing here at 35, the gap between them looks like almost nothing. $40,000 against zero. The one who waited tells themselves they have barely missed anything at all. They can catch up. They still have plenty of time. They are wrong. They simply cannot see it yet. Because the real difference was never that $40,000. The real difference is the 10 years of growth that money has already begun, and that the one who waited can never get back. The gap you can see is small. The gap you cannot see is enormous, and it only accelerates from here. Another 10 years go by. Both of them are now 45 years old. Both have been faithfully putting in the same $200 a month. Same discipline. Same ordinary life. The one who started early now has around $150,000. The one who waited has around $40,000. Look closely at what just happened. The one who waited has now been investing for a full 10 years, and they have arrived at almost exactly the same number the early starter had a decade ago. They did not catch up. They simply arrived 10 years late to the very same spot. And while the late starter was finally crawling toward 40,000, the early starter was not standing still. Their money was multiplying on top of money that was already multiplying. 150,000 against 40,000. This is no longer a gap you can shrug off, and if you are watching this and feeling a quiet knot forming in your stomach, that feeling is not your imagination. That low hum of unease, the sense that something has been slipping away in the background while you weren't looking. It is real, and it is the most important thing this video can show you, because the next 10 years are where it turns brutal. Both of them turn 55. The one who started early is now sitting on around $450,000. The one who waited has around $150,000, the same monthly amount, the same effort, the exact same $200 leaving the account, month after month, for both of them. And yet one of them now has 3 times what the other has. And notice the pattern repeating. At 55, the late starter has finally reached what the early starter had at 45. Always 1 decade behind. Always arriving at the number the other person had already left behind 10 years earlier. This is what compounding does in the final stretch. The early money is not just bigger. It has had more time to grow on top of its own growth. The snowball that started so small is now the size of a boulder, and it is rolling downhill, gaining weight with every single year. The one who started early barely has to lift a finger anymore. The growth on the money they already have is beginning to dwarf the $200 they keep adding. Their money, quietly, has started to work harder than they do, and there is still 1 decade left. The most powerful one of them all, they both turn 65. This is the finish line. The moment they both finally stop and look at what $200 a month actually became. The one who waited until 35 ends with around $450,000. That is a real number, a good number. It is more than most people manage to save in an entire lifetime. They have every reason to be proud, and then they glance across at the other one. The one who started at 25 has over $1.2 million. Let that just sit there for a moment. The same $200 a month, the same investment, the same discipline. One of them ends with $450,000. The other ends with more than $1 million. Now here is the number that should genuinely stop you cold. Over those 40 years, the early starter put in $96,000 of their own money. The late starter put in $72,000. The difference in what they actually pulled out of their own pockets is just $24,000. $24,000 of extra savings became more than $800,000 of extra wealth. That is not an exaggeration. That is simply what 10 years of time does. Once compounding has something to work with, and it gets even harder to hear. If the one who waited had wanted to end up with that same $1.2 million by starting at 35, $200 a month would not have come close to enough. They would have had to invest somewhere around $560 every month instead, nearly 3 times as much, for 30 years straight, just to undo a 10-year head start that they gave away for free. That is the true price of waiting. It is not paid in dollars, it is paid in time, and time is the one thing no amount of money can ever buy back. So what actually separated these two lives? It was not talent. It was not income. It was not some secret that only the rich are allowed to know. It was 10 years. That is all. We are taught, over and over, that wealth is about how much you make. Earn more, save more, and one day you will be rich. But that was never the real engine. The engine was never the $200. The engine was the time that those $200 were allowed to grow. Money is just the fuel. Time is the fire. The person who started at 25 was not smarter. They were not more disciplined. They were simply earlier. They gave their money the one ingredient that no salary on earth can replace. They gave it years, and that is the quiet, uncomfortable truth that almost no one tells you about money. The single most valuable asset you will ever own is not sitting in your bank account. It is the years you still have ahead of you. And they are leaving, silently, one ordinary day at a time, whether you choose to use them or not. So go back to the very beginning. Two people, standing at the same starting line, the same age, the same paycheck. Impossible to tell apart. You already know how this ends. They were both you. One version of you starts. One version of you waits. And here is the part that actually matters. The part this entire video was really about. Right now, today, you are still standing at that starting line. You have not chosen yet which version you become. If a part of you is sitting there, thinking you have already left it too late, then listen closely. The best time to begin was years ago. That version is gone, and there is no use grieving it. But the second best time, and the only time you will ever actually have, is today. The gap in this story looked brutal because we stretched it across 40 years, but every single one of those years began as one ordinary day. A day exactly like this one. A quiet, forgettable day, where someone almost began and then decided to wait just a little longer. You do not have to be that person. $200 or $20 or whatever small amount you can actually begin with today. The size was never the point. Starting was always the point. And if this made you think of someone younger, someone who still has every one of those years stretched out in front of them, then send it to them. It might honestly be the most valuable thing you hand anyone all year. If you want to keep seeing how the game of money really works, level by level, the way it was never explained to you in school, then subscribe and stay close. New stories from the other side. Every day. I will see you at the next level.